In this video, I'm going to be talking you through how to lose weight and the principles of energy balance. In my last video, I was talking about the importance of diet sustainability and touching on the body self-defense system. If you're considering changing your lifestyle in order to facilitate weight loss, I definitely recommend giving that video a watch. However, I will sum it up for you here. It doesn't matter whether or not you lose weight. What matters most is keeping it off, and therefore the most important thing to consider when trying to lose weight is diet sustainability. Okay, so now how do we actually lose weight? So there's so many different diets out there. At the moment, what seems to be really popular is intermittent fasting, the ketogenic diet. There's been diets in the past like Atkins diet, there's a juice cleanse, there's all kinds of different things out there. But what do they all have in common? The way that all these diets help facilitate weight loss is by putting you into a calorie deficit. Now, if you don't know what a calorie deficit is, that's fine, because I'm going to talk a lot more about it in the next few minutes. But what's important to understand is that all the diets that I've just listed and all of the diets out there that help you lose weight do so by restricting your calories. So for example, we've got intermittent fasting. Now, intermittent fasting usually restricts the time at which you can eat throughout the day, usually to about a maximum of 8 hours. Now, if you've only got 8 hours of the day at which you can eat, you're only going to be able to eat so many calories within that time frame. This is something that I've even tried myself in order to help facilitate weight loss. So I essentially cut out breakfast and only ate between the hours of 12 o'clock and 8 o'clock at night. Now, because I was essentially cutting out a whole meal, that reduced the number of calories that I ate throughout the day and essentially put me in a calorie deficit. Intermittent fasting is not magical, it's just a tool that I used to allow me to restrict my calorie intake. And the ketogenic diet is just the same. It allows you to reduce your overall calorie intake by eliminating one macronutrient group, carbs. So now that we know that there are no magic diets out there are no magic supplements, the only way to lose weight is by being in a calorie deficit, let's go through what that is. So I'm just going to do a little quick drawing here, which is not going to be great. I'm certainly no artist by any means. But we've got somewhat of a balance there, or at least I've tried. On this side, we'll go for our calories in. And that's comprised of 3 macronutrients. So first off, we have carbohydrates. I'm just going to shorten that to carbs there. And carbs, for every gram of carbs that you eat, that contains 4 calories. Next up, we also have protein. And protein, like carbs, has 4 calories per gram. And finally, we have fat. Fat, slightly different, has 9 calories per gram. And they are our 3 main macronutrients. As you can see, fat is the most calorically dense macronutrient. What's also worth mentioning is that alcohol, if considered a macronutrient, has 7 calories per gram. So you know those old myths where you were told vodka doesn't have any calories or gin doesn't have any calories? Yeah, that is exactly what I said, a myth. It's not true, unfortunately. So on the next side of the balance, we have our calories out, which is also known as our total daily energy expenditure. So the first component of our calories out that I'm going to talk about is our basal metabolic rate, or our BMR. And this is the calories that we expend to keep all of our bodily functions going. So for example, for our brain to function, for our digestive system, for us to be able to breathe, and for our heart to pump blood, that all requires energy, which comes from the calories that we eat. And our BMR on average comprises of about 70% of our total daily energy expenditure, so it is the main chunk of our calories out. Next up, we have our non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or also known as NEAT. NEAT is essentially all of our movements that we do throughout the day that are not purposeful exercise. So me talking, standing here, waving my arms, getting up to go to the bathroom, walking up the stairs, these all contribute to our NEAT. And our NEAT contributes to about 15% of our total daily energy expenditure. The third component of our calories out is the thermic effect of food, or our TEF. Now, when we eat food, our body needs to use some of the calories from that food in order to digest it. And the amount of calories it uses in order to do so differs depending on the macronutrient makeup of the food that we eat. So, for example, when we eat carbohydrates, we use around 5 to 10% of those calories just to digest the food. When it comes to protein, it's as many as 20 to 30%. And with fat, it's 0 to 3%. So obviously, as you can take from that, if you're eating a more protein dominant diet, then you're going to be expending a lot more calories just digesting the protein. However, as a whole, our thermic effect of food takes up about 10% of our overall total daily energy expenditure. And finally, we have our fourth component of our calories out, our exercise activity thermogenesis, which I'm just going to shorten here to EAT, which is not to be confused with our calories in there. So this is the one that's most synonymous with our calories out. This is the burpees that we do, every run that we go for, every weight that we lift, anything that is done with the purpose of burning calories. What may come as a bit of a surprise to some of you is that our exercise is only responsible for about 5% of the overall calories that we burn. So now we know the components of our calories out and our calories in, how do we make sure we're in a calorie deficit? So a calorie deficit occurs when our calories out exceed our calories in, meaning we burn more calories than what we eat. And the same could also be said for the reverse. So if we eat more calories than what we expend, then we're in what's called a calorie surplus and we will gain weight. Now, in order to be in a calorie deficit, we can either try and bump up our calories out, or we can try and restrict our calories in. What I would probably recommend is a combination of the two, but probably more so geared towards restricting our calories in. And the reason for that is, as you can see, exercise contributes quite little to our overall total daily energy expenditure. So it's much easier to manipulate our calories in, basically restrict the amount of calories that we're eating, rather than really ramping up our exercise and our calories out. There you have it, guys, how it is we lose weight and the principles of energy balance. I mean, I know it's not the most artistic drawing, and I will put something together that hopefully makes it a lot more clear in terms of an image for you, but hopefully you understand the principles nonetheless. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section or drop me a direct message and I'll be more than happy to help.